Hi, welcome to the College Heights. My name is Malone Farmer. I'm a commentary writer and podcast producer, and I am here with...
Hello, I'm Michael Givner, assistant sports editor. What's good, y'all? Ooh, maybe I should move this closer.
Put that microphone right up to your face there, Givner.
Yup, we good.
Okay.
I can see you moving on the screen. We got this.
It's time, everybody, to talk about some basketball. Let's start off with the men's basketball team.
You know, the men's basketball team, since I've really locked in on them, they've looked solid. They've had those moments where they falter, but they've looked solid the last 3 games. I think even though they lost to Jacksonville State, that was, again, one of those weird games. But they've now won 2 straight games. And that game last night was insane. It actually was. I think that game was crazier than Jacksonville State. Blew a 14-point lead. Managed to stick around, won the game. Mind you, the Middle Tennessee guy had a game-winning floater wide open, missed it. And, I know he's just kicking himself off missing that basket because, it was wide open. 3 seconds left. They had no timeout, so they had to inbound it from all the way they had to go coast to coast. Inbounds it, made a move, and got the floater open, and he just missed it. But, Plona seemed happy, complimented me. That was interesting,
What did Plona say?
He walked in and we made eye contact, and then he was like, "I like your hair." I was like, "Thanks." That was interesting. I will say that the team, I think the only thing wrong, they cannot grab a rebound. They can't grab a rebound. That was my biggest gripe. Grab a board. They got out-rebounded 13-6 on the offensive glass. Grab a board, please. Because that's the reason why Middle Tennessee State was able to stay in the game, was because they got so many second-chance points. And, the points off turnovers was another thing. They had 4 blocks. WKU had 0. It's I don't know. 20 turnovers each, though. I think that the WKU defense played well despite just not being able to grab a rebound. I also think that MTSU put themselves in a hole because they fouled so much. 23 fouls committed by them, which converted to 32 free throw attempts for WKU. It was ugly game. That's how WKU was able to, win that game, was because they were able to convert their free throws. Whereas Middle Tennessee shot 69%, WKU shot 88%. And Plona mentioned that in the presser. He's like, free throw shooting has been good. And, he went on that weird rant. I don't know. It was weird. He was like, they tell us to, practice our free throws, which we do. But it's he went into, the mentals about it. I'm like, thanks. I didn't know, you were a philosopher, but that was cool. Tegan Moore was back.
He returned.
28 points on 6 of 10 shooting.
Good Lord.
Yeah, Tegan Moore was back. I will say Grant Newell also was there. He performed as well. He had 20 points? Yeah, he had 20 points, 7 boards. Also shot 63%. So, it was Newell and then Hackman and then Tegan Moore. But kind of in my mic drop, after that, the scoring kind of fell off the planet. So, all in all, it was a good game for the Hilltoppers. It was their first game in a week. Last game was the FIU win on the 7th. Mm-hmm. They now travel to Delaware on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a win. I don't care it's on the road. That's a 9-16 team. You control your own destiny in conference play for the most part. You're sitting at 4 right now, which is a stark contrast from where you started yesterday. I think they were 7th or 8th, and now they're 4th. You now sit 4th in the conference, 7-7. There's 6 games left in the season. You sit at 4th in the conference, 7-7.
So-called basketball expert over here.
I'm a basketball expert. Let me cook. The team in front of you, Jacksonville State, who you did lose to, sits at 8-6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, why couldn't they get second place in the conference?
Why couldn't they? Well, Givner, I think the answer to that is because they've lost games.
Well, I understand that, Malone. But let me push my agenda here. You're playing a weak, not that good Delaware team. Okay?
Yes.
That'll be a win. You're not beating Liberty. It's in Lynchburg. They are on fire right now. They need to be investigated, okay? You got New Mexico State and UTEP at home on the 26th.
They need to be investigated for being good? I
Yes.
just want to make sure. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand that.
New Mexico State and UTEP, 26th and the 28th of February. You both at home. You can win those games.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, those are New Mexico's last in the conference. We better be winning that game. And then UTEP is currently 6-9 in conference play. Okay. And then going into your games in March, you have Missouri State on the road and FIU on the road. You already beat FIU once. And then Missouri State, that's a winnable game. That's a game you can win. You handle business. You can overtake Sam Houston and Jacksonville State, get second in the conference. Because no one's catching Liberty. Matter of fact, I think Liberty can clinch the conference if they win their next game. No, there's too many games left for that.
Well, also...
Yeah, if Liberty wins their next game, and I think if Sam Houston loses, I think they'll clinch the first seed.
This also assumes that none of the teams above WKU does anything significant between now and the end of the season.
If WKU wins their next two games and goes 9-7 in conference play, they are already in a great position to go for that second seed come tournament time. Jacksonville State plays Louisiana Tech, and then they have to play that Sam Houston team we talked about. I think Sam Houston and Liberty will be the two hardest, contests for WKU to end the season. But they're winnable. They are. Not Sam Houston. I mean Liberty and Missouri State.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I said Sam Houston. They don't play Sam Houston. But Liberty and Missouri State will be the hardest contest for WKU men's basketball. But I think that if all you do, you win out other than Liberty, you can get that second seed. That's what I think. Let's move it to women's basketball.
Let's talk about it.
Because something exciting happened.
Something exciting happened. They got a conference win. This is not a drill, everyone. They actually did win a game, breaking an 8-game losing streak.
Do you know I was 21 the last time they won a game?
That's crazy. You're so old. So after losing against Kennesaw State in the education game last Thursday, the Lady Toppers on Valentine's Day played Jacksonville State. And they won. Shockingly, they looked like a whole different team out there. Givner, I kept looking at the baseball reporter. David Quintanilla was there. My counterpart, Adrianna Lein, was there, and I kept just looking at them and going, "What's happening?
Where has this been all season?
Where has it? Truly, that's a good question. Where has it been all season?" Because they outscored Jacksonville State by 15, a team that they lost to earlier this season. They played wonderfully. Players that I have had issues with played really well, namely Tatum Betcher played really well. She put up 11 points. She shot 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. And she scored in the paint, something that she's not done up until this point. She's never scored in the paint until now.
You want to know the last time? You mentioned that it was a double-digit win. You want to know the last time they did that? December the 14th against North Dakota.
That was a long time ago, folks. That's actually 2 months exactly.
Yeah.
December 14th.
Their last double-digit win was December the 14th, because I don't know my dates.
The third quarter was where WKU really pulled ahead. They kept it tight the first 2 quarters, which is unusual for this team. Even in games that they've won, they usually struggle in the first and second quarter, but they kept it tight this game. Third quarter, they outscored Jacksonville State by 14 points. They scored 20 points, and Jacksonville State scored 6.
Now, my question to you is this. You've got 5 games left on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
As we have been made aware, the bottom 2 teams in the conference do not make the tournament.
They do
and
not
we're trying
make
to
the
go to
conference
Huntsville.
tournament.
And if you're on the women's basketball beat, you want to go to Huntsville and actually have something to do and
Yeah.
not just sit there. what does this team need to do to overtake New Mexico State and make the conference tournament? Because honestly, Kennesaw State would need to have a dramatic fall off for them to overtake them, because they sit at 5-8, whereas New Mexico State is 4-9. And I think the other thing is that you play Missouri State, FIU in March, and then you have Middle Tennessee State, Delaware, and Liberty. What do they do to get that last spot for the tournament?
Okay, so ideally they need to win out the season. Now, do I think this will happen? That's a completely different story. But ideally they win out the season. At minimum, they need to pick up 3 more wins of these next 5 games, and they need New Mexico State to lose out for the rest of the season. I think they have a pretty decent chance at overtaking Delaware and Liberty. Those are 2 away games. Like I said, ideally they win out. They go the rest of the season without picking up a loss. That would put them solidly ahead of New Mexico State, who I don't think is going to do great the rest of the season.
They have UTEP, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, Louisiana Tech, and Sam Houston, and those last 2 games are on the road.
So New Mexico State is probably only going to pick up 1 win for the rest of the season, if I had to guess, and it will be against UTEP. Otherwise, I don't see them taking a game.
New Mexico State is 2-10 on the road. That's second worst in the conference behind, I think you could guess.
It's second worst in the conference behind Western Kentucky University.
How did you know?
Who has a horrible away record. Have they won they haven't won an away game in conference.
They've won 2 in conference. No.
They've won 2.
They've won 2 away games. Wait a minute.
They've won 2 away games in total. So, ideally, they win out the season. New Mexico State is only able to pick up 1 more win at most. That is my prediction. I don't see UTEP doing anything. I think, in all reality, WKU has a better chance of upward mobility than UTEP. I worry about the FIU game very specifically. The MTSU game also is a worry of mine, but that FIU game is going to be really difficult. I think if they can do that, they can get to the conference tournament. Now, if they will make a splash there is a whole different story. But I think that there is a path. It is just not – it's possible. I just don't know how likely it is to happen.
New Mexico State also has tiebreaker because they beat WKU 70-67 earlier in the year. It's looking ugly.
Yeah.
It's not looking too hot. I'm gonna be so real. It's possible, and it's like I was telling Austin in the when we were at the game yesterday that now it's time to there's a few games left in the season. Now we're going to have to start passing my narratives on how we're going to end up making the tournament on both teams and like how the men's team is going to finish second.
Why do you have so many narratives, Givner?
That I have things to...
Why are you a propagandist?
Listen, that's what the people want. The people
want propaganda.
Think about it, because it all stems from that year where the Hilltoppers made the tournament, and I was going around the office saying that they were going to win out the tournament, and that's exactly what they did. And...
Breaking news, Givner was right one time and has carried it with him forever.
That's right. That's going to be what's on my senior quote. I was right that one time about WKU men's basketball. Do I think that they're going to get second in the conference? I don't think so. I think that there are flaws on both sides of the ball. It carried itself into the MTSU game. Yeah, Tegan Moore was back, but you blew a 14-point lead. And... there have been times where the refs have swallowed their whistle in the Jacksonville State game, and you aren't going to get the calls that you got last night because they got a lot of calls. There were a lot of whistles that kept them in the game. Like I said, they attempted 33 free throw attempts. There's going to be games where you don't get that whistle, especially when you're like on the road and stuff like that. There's going to be games where you don't get the whistle. I can see them losing that Liberty game. I could see them losing one of the other games I had talked about. In one of the March games, I could see them losing to Missouri State or FIU for that matter on the road. They could win those games, but they would win them. Dude, I think that they're going to get that second seed? No. Would it be nice? Yes, because I think that means they get a bye going into the tournament along with Liberty into the second round of the tournament. But I feel like third or fourth is where they're going to stay at because you need Jacksonville State and Sam Houston to lose. They've both been playing good ball all season, especially Sam Houston. Sam Houston is good all season as well. Liberty is 22-3, undefeated in conference play, but Sam Houston, their performance should not be taken away from. They've looked good all year as well. But third or fourth isn't bad. You just longer road to get to the championship because the way I see it, Western is not getting a bid to the tournament unless they win the conference. And it's going to probably be Liberty, but one can dream, One can dream.
And the women's team might make it to the conference tournament. Maybe. Shrug. I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, I mean, if they can put together 3 wins and New Mexico State loses out the season, they can make it to the conference tournament. So long as, UTEP doesn't do anything, which I don't think they will. But we're going to hand it off to the bat and ball sports, Adrianna and David. Yeah.
Toodles, guys.
All right. Thank you, Michael and Malone. I am Adrianna Lein, and I am the softball beat reporter at the College Heights Herald. And with me is
David Quintanilla. I am the Español editor at the Herald and also covering baseball currently.
Indeed. Okay. So WKU Softball had its second quote-unquote tournament of the 2026 season this past weekend. And then baseball opened its 2026 season.
Yeah, and its series is still going.
Correct.
Won't end until tomorrow on Monday because BYU doesn't play on Sundays.
Indeed. Softball was in Macon, Georgia over the weekend, which I went back and looked at the last podcast. It's not Macon University, it's Mercer University. I said it was Macon University. It's not. 'Twas not.
'Twas correct.
So it was hosted by Mercer University. Mercer University, it's a tongue twister, in Macon, Georgia. Now we got all the facts straight.
Hashtag facts.
So the Hilltoppers started their weekend with a 2-1 win over Army Friday morning. It was a nice way to start the weekend. I mean, obviously it's a win. It was a close win, just 2-1, but a win nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a pretty good pitching battle. Only Hilltoppers only allowing 2 hits in the whole game, while Army gave up 5 hits and 2 runs. Just like those pitching battles that anything can happen in any inning, and that's sure what happened in this game. In the first inning, WKU scored off of a error from second base to home, from one error, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that was their first game of the MUSB Invitational. Then, complete opposite. 100 to nothing in terms of just difference. It was crazy. Their game against the hosting Mercer, they lost. Yes, the Mercer Bears.
The second game for the Hilltoppers was a real big hitting show for both teams.
The first game was a battle of the pitching staffs, and the second game was the exact opposite. It was the hitting.
Yeah, teams combining for 23 hits in the game and combining for 21 runs.
It gets to a point where if it's that high scoring, then the pitching can only take it so far, and the high scoring is because of good hitting. Regardless of how good the pitching is, it's just the hitting is really, really good, especially from both sides. It wasn't just a 12-0 blowout or a 12-2. Like, no, it was 12-9. Like, there's, as a pitcher, there's seemingly wasn't that much that you could have done.
No, like it was just a good hitting game for both teams. You know, when you're the pitcher, you really can't do much about that if it's on both sides. I think your only job as a pitcher is just to get out of the inning.
Yeah, just damage control at that point. Yeah. Yeah, which is crazy. Which was unfortunate that WKU couldn't walk away with the win because of just because the effective hitting was seen on both sides. But
yeah, I think the 8-run third inning really did damage to Western here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Hilltoppers were up 3-0. And then Mercer scored 1 run in the second, 8 runs in the third. Like, at that point, WKU never led again. Like, yeah, an 8-run inning is just a deficit that's hard to come back from. And that just ultimately led to their loss. So that wrapped up Friday's competition. And then Saturday, the Hilltoppers faced Iowa and Mercer again. They lost to Iowa 8-6, which they were in the lead for several innings of the game, but then just blew it down the stretch, which was unfortunate, but it was a pleasant surprise to see this score. Like, with a big state school, I don't know much about their softball program, but I was expecting it to be a bigger deficit from the loss. And then WKU continued its good hitting against Mercer, which Mercer did not. The Hilltoppers won 13-2 against Mercer, which was crazy. 17 hits, to which Mercer only had 4. Like, the pendulum was clearly swinging towards WKU for that game. Macy Masters, who was WKU's star hitter, the designated hitter last season, she hit a grand slam in the first innings of both the Iowa and second Mercer games, which is mind-boggling because even just hitting a grand slam is crazy. But hitting 2 in one day, both in the first inning, both to just set the tone for the game. Awesome. Literally incredible. And speaking of Masters, she played some innings in the catcher's position. She was catching the ball, which head coach Amy Tudor alluded to in the preseason press conference, which I think that's great. I'm excited to see her in that role. And they have a freshman, Maya Green, I'm pretty sure is her name, who also will dabble in that catcher's position. But I guess we'll see how it goes because last year the lone senior of the team, Randy Drennan, was the catcher. And she was the catcher for her entire career on the Hill, her entire 4 years. So that was interesting to see, and I'm interested to see what will come of that. And then another interesting thing that happened, so many interesting things. The Hilltoppers were supposed to play Army again on Sunday, but that game was canceled due to
weather.
So their 5-game weekend turned into 4. But yeah, so they went 2-2 this weekend, which means the Hilltoppers are 6-3 overall, which during this time last season they were 4-4.
Improvement.
Pretty good. So, baseball are currently
in a 4-game series against BYU to kick off the season. So on Friday, they switched it to a doubleheader due to inclement weather on Saturday. So the first game started at 12 and did not go in the Hilltoppers' favor. It wasn't necessarily a bad game from the Hilltoppers. It was a really good pitching battle, but something that was noticed throughout the weekend so far, because technically the series isn't over, is the bullpen is a little shaky to come out. The Hilltoppers were winning 2-1 heading into the 7th inning, and with a win on the seat. And Dawson Hall comes in on the 8th, gets through the 8th inning. There's a couple of calls there that he started to argue with the ump. But then in the 9th, he gave up 2 runs that gave BYU the lead, and the Hilltoppers could not respond in the bottom of the 9th, giving them their first loss of the season in the first game, which automatically gave them a worse start to the season than last season, which is pretty insane. But we definitely got to sell some new faces through the lineup. Austin Holler was the leadoff hitter for the weekend so far. I don't know if he'll stay because he has yet to get a hit this weekend. He went 0 for 3 in the third game, 0 for 3 in the second game, and 0 for 4 in the first game. Not really what you want from a leadoff hitter. Your leadoff hitter is supposed to be the person who gets on base the most times, and that is not the case with Austin Holler. Which, don't get me wrong, I think he's a good player, good fielder. He's a second baseman, but I think Reardon has to switch up the lineup. We got to see a new face in Luis Arrayo's. He hit 2 home runs in the weekend, so it was good to see some new faces and see how they respond to being on the hill for the first time, and he did really good. A familiar face that we didn't get to see this weekend so far, though, was Kyle Hayes, who has been benched so far, which was actually kind of shocking to me because I definitely would have thought he was going to be the 3 or 4 hitter this season. But we got to see Reed Howard again, Camden Ross, and Western has 2 switch hitters this season, which is dictated by the letter B in everything, which means both. So that took me out for a little bit.
That's cool.
So that's really interesting. JP Acosta, who is a really great fielder. He was playing third base. So far, it seemed like a really good pickup for them. And then in the second game, which happened 3 hours and 40 minutes after the first game ended on Friday, the Hilltoppers got their first win, 5-2 win over BYU. And this was actually a really fun game to watch. Both teams definitely, you could see how the first game got to them. They're both a little tired. You definitely saw the fatigue from the first game. But this was a really good game. Reardon switched the lineup a little bit. He did not move Austin Holler out of the leadoff position though, which was kind of surprising after he went 0-4 in the first game. But the really important thing for me was keeping Camden Ross at the cleanup hitter, because Camden Ross last year, pretty decent hitter, came back this year for his final year, and he seems to be taking the catcher position again, which last season he played DH. So kind of like with Macy Masters, who was the DH last season.
Parallels.
And that is parallels in bat and ball sports here at the Hill. But I definitely feel like the pitching this game definitely seemed a lot more secure, even though they did give up another 2 runs in the 9th inning.
Sigh.
But Aaron Robertson, the starter for the game 2, I liked his stuff a lot. He went 4 innings and only gave up 3 hits and struck out 7. His strikeout
7 strikeouts in 4 innings.
Yes.
Wow.
His strikeout pitch was just getting swings and misses. It was a really nice pitch, and that definitely helped the Hilltoppers get to their lead and then keeping it almost blowing it in the 9th, but keeping the win. Another common between these 2 games was in the first game the Hilltoppers left 13 people on base.
Woo!
And in the second game they left 10, which is not good. No. I think double digits left on base when it's such a close game. That it could be a 5-2 game could have been like an 8-2 game if they just took advantage of some of those people on base. But it's definitely something that we saw at the end of last season during postseason. It's what led to their loss against Georgia Tech and Ole Miss. And it's not really good to see that trend happening again so early on in the season, because I think left on base is one of the worst things you can do in a game, because those are runs that you can get. And then the game on Valentine's Day was a 4-2 win against BYU, of course. This was a game that the Hilltoppers won in the 8th inning. They were tied 2-2 going into the 8th, and Camden Ross, who I just spoke of, got the 2 RBI single to give him the win. And I think this is where it really shows how his lineup is going to change. I think he's going to keep Camden Ross in the cleanup, but Austin Holler has to. I love Austin Holler.
He's got to step it up.
He's got to step it up, or he's moving the bottom of the lineup.
He's got to utilize that mustache.
He's got to use.
There's got to be some kind of secret powers in it.
There's got to be. But I don't know. Just seeing an 0-3, 0-3, 0-4 from your leadoff hitter is just, that's not, because that's how you start the game, you know. And mathematically speaking, he's most likely going to get the most at bats in a game.
Right.
So seeing him not get a single hit in 3 games so far, there's slumps, but then there's moments where you have to take a step back and be like, Holler, you're not leadoff.
Well, it also puts more stress on the following hitters to just even get something, because you see your leadoff hitter either strike out or just not get on base consistently like that, and the mindset changes from, oh, I'm gonna advance my teammate to second, versus, no, I just got to get on base. Like, I got to start it. I got to get the ball rolling for us.
Yeah. In the 3rd game, he struck out 3 times in his 3 at bats, which
come on, buddy.
Is kind of the worst stat line you can have as a leadoff hitter. He did have 1 walk, which I'll give him that, but
Hey, good job.
3 strikeouts from your leadoff hitter is not good. But the highlight of Game 3, in my opinion, was Zach Lyles. Zach Lyles came in the 8th inning, and this is a guy who we saw last year. He had good stuff, but the way the bullpen was last season, he didn't see as much playing time as he could this season. But seeing Zach Lyles step up, he pitched 2 innings, gave up 0 hits, just a walk, 3 strikeouts, and he got the save for the game, and it was a good pitching performance for Lyles. I liked his pitch selection. I like how he was dealing with the batters. You know, was getting into some hitters counts, but wasn't letting that take his mind off of what he needed to do, which was to keep the game where it was. And that's what you want to see when you see your first 2 games giving up 2 runs in the 9th inning. You want to have that guy you can bring in the 8th and the 9th and just get 0 hits and keep the score how it was. But yeah, that's so far in the series. But of course, Western, they do play 1 more game tomorrow on Monday, and we'll see if they take the series or if it ends in a series tie.
Just one more thing. WKU Softball has its home opener this upcoming weekend called the Hilltopper Classic, where they will face Butler, Western Michigan, and Detroit Mercy. I really don't know. I had never heard of Detroit Mercy, but yes, that's, of course, always exciting, your home opener. And then the following weekend is their Hilltopper Spring Fling. So those 2 tournaments are this weekend and then the next, and then we get into conference play.
That's crazy.
Just like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So stay tuned, and we'll be back soon with more bat and ball updates.